Welcome to Rooted in Our Ancestors' Dreams. We create spaces where stories are not extracted, but honored, where memory becomes medicine and where identity is affirmed rather than explained. Through intentional storytelling, intergenerational dialogue, and community-centered action, we help people connect to what has always been theirs: wisdom, dignity, and the right to dream forward. Our work invites reflection, restoration, and responsibility, transforming inherited resilience into conscious vision and collective care. Before us were dreams whispered in the dark, hands that built without recognition, voices that carried hope when silence was safer. This space is for them, and it's for us, the ones still becoming, still remembering, still choosing to dream forward. Here, we honor where we come from, so that we can be clear about where we're going. This is Rooted in Our Ancestors' Dreams, where legacy is bound by vision and rooted in purpose. Today, we are joined by Moneecia Johnson. She is a mentor, author of Healing in Transition, domestic violence advocate, life coach, and an ordained chaplain. Welcome, Moneecia.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, our topic today is centered around faith and healing in transition. And what we usually ask our guests is, what do they think when they hear legacy is bound by vision and rooted in purpose?
Legacy is bound by vision and rooted
in purpose.
That is a good question. Rooted in purpose. And say the first part again, sorry.
Where legacy is bound by vision and rooted in purpose.
Bound by vision. So when I think about legacy being bound by vision, but yet rooted in purpose, I can give an example. When I was a little girl, I always knew I wanted to help people. I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to the thing that was been in my heart since I was younger is to help young adults who've been abandoned and rejected. And now that I am older, I am doing what I wanted to do. And so my vision was to help young people, but I never knew that I had to go through so many things to help other people, if that makes sense. And so the vision was to have a shelter to help young people. But right now, I counsel younger people. And so I believe that the vision that we have is not always our completed vision. I think there's another part of a vision. And when you're rooted in God and you allow Him and you ask Him what to do, He'll steer you in that direction. But you have to be submitted to the Holy Spirit. And so I say all that to say, our stories or our life circumstances, situations, trials, and tribulations it all happens for us to go back so we can help people and be in purpose. Did that make sense?
It does. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. So before we get into our questions, do you want to tell our listeners a little bit about you and kind of what you do and how you came to have all of these roles? And
So summing that up of what I just shared, I'll just say a little bit about me. So my name is Moneecia Johnson. Currently I am a chaplain in Cleveland, Ohio, for a large hospital, a well-known hospital, and I'm also a parole officer for the state, and I work with juveniles. Never did I think when I was younger that I would do all that I've done. I was born by my mom, Miss Johnson, but yet I was a child who came in this world through rape. So I was a child. My mom was raped. And so there was things that I dealt with as I got older, not knowing my mother dealt with those things and why I was treated the way I was treated. My mother loved me, but there was some things that she did not do, like nurture and show me affection, and I didn't understand it. Um, and a part of that journey, now I can identify young people or even grown people who may lack or not do not know how to receive love, nurture, or affection due to their childhood experiences. Who am I? I love to give back to my community. I love helping women who have dealt with some type of trauma or that's in a place of that has a mindset of I can't get out of a situation. I like to help men. I love working with men, helping them identify their emotions and how to process their emotions. I like helping families, helping parents co-parent with each other because, as parents or adults at times, each party can be petty or bitter or angry about something, and it takes away from the child. So I really would say Moneecia is a person who loves to rebuild and assist family and people because of Moneecia's growing up, if that makes sense.
It does. I'm sorry that that happened to your mom, and I imagine that whole journey and upbringing has really given you insight on how to help the people that you help and how to create a space for them to feel safe.
Yes.
So you have a podcast, Present Perspectives. That's such a powerful title. What does it mean, and what kind of transformation do you hope listeners experience after each episode?
Well, it's funny you asked that because at the time, Present Perspectives was developed through my time with God, and I realized that throughout each stage of my life, and every month, I have a different perspective about a thing, right? And depending on your perspective at that time of a situation and things that you're going through, your perspective can either help you or it can hurt you. And I also, not only with that, I also thought like, attending church and then being out of the church for a while, I realized that seeing God in the now, many times we look at God from the past, or we learned what church is or how to operate in life from what we were taught, right? But when you are becoming and you take the time with God, things change, your perspectives change. It can become healthy. It can become challenging. But the more time you spend with God, your posture change. Your destiny unfolds differently when you take the time to seek God and really spend time with God. I've learned that many people that I followed or I admired, they are human, and I had held them to a standard that was a standard that I wasn't myself holding up to, if that makes sense. And so I've learned that in this time, the best perspective is God's perspective and spending time with Him. And we will never fully get God's the way how He moves, but I believe if you spend time with God, just like you would spend time with people, the more time you spend with Him, you will learn who He is and who He is not, and some of the things that we have been taught or learned from people we need to unlearn.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
So my prayer is that your listeners walk away asking themselves questions like, not just asking myself, why me, but what is God developing in me?
That's powerful. Thank you for that. You highlight apostolic and prophetic dialogue. How do you keep it raw and unfiltered while being responsible, grounded, and loving in delivery?
Well, when I go back over the shows and I think about some of the questions being asked, each show is something different for that time, which goes with the present perspective that I may have at that moment or what God is doing in my life. And mental and emotional, how can I say this? I would say that it's raw because when I am doing the show, I'm speaking to you from my present at that moment. So you might see me crying. You might be hearing me speak. I might be angry. I think sometimes some people, not all, they act as if emotions are all negative, but it's part of us being human. Being raw does not mean that I'm being reckless. I believe truth without love is trauma, but at the same time, being human, are we all always so loving? Truth can be hurtful. It can make you angry. It can make you sad. It can bring you happiness. So even when you talk about being prophetic, usually prophetic, when you look in the Bible, is talking about edifying, exhorting, and comfort. It's more about those things versus control. So many times when I have the show as well, I ask Holy Spirit, what is it that you want me to bring forth with the people? Or I even ask Holy Spirit, who is it that you want me to bring on? Whether they say yes or no, if the person say yes, I ask them sometimes if the Holy Spirit tells me, he may tell me, let them give the topic. And then I'll ask him, what will Holy Spirit then, what part do you want me to study, or what is it that you want me to study from their title? And so I feel like the most important thing about apostolic and prophetic is really seeking the Holy Spirit for things and answers. And that takes a practice to do. And again, will you do it all the time? Do I do it all the time? No. But for the show, I do ask. And for some things in my life, I ask. But do I ask Holy Spirit for everything? No, that wouldn't be truthful. And so being unfiltered means I don't water down conviction, but being responsible enough to not even weaponize revelation when it's given unto me.
You must have a lot of interesting topics that come up when you're interviewing others. What kind of topics stuck with you?
One of my favorite shows is my first show was about dating, and they called it courting, and I had on two prophets. No, I had on a pastor, two pastors, and a prophet, two prophets at the time, and everybody's perspective was different about versus courting versus dating. And what does it look like? I had different people from different generations, from millennials to baby boomers, and all of our perspectives were totally different when it came to dating or courting. And when people were on, it was funny to see how some people were open and relaxed versus some people were very uptight. And that was a good show because I thought that it showed people, everybody who talk to God or believe in God are not stuck up or stiff-necked. And then the other show, my other favorite show is The Grief of Becoming, and that was with Prophet Jennifer James, and we discussed The grief of becoming is basically losing a person, place, or thing. And in this journey of life, we will grieve our health. We will grieve losing a job, a place, a loved one. And even characteristics and attitudes that you may miss. And many times I don't feel like we talk about grief, not we only talk from grief about the death part, but not losing a place or a thing. Those things we grieve. Losing a job, losing your co-workers, moving to another church. God is requiring you to come up higher. You have to have he's challenged you to not cuss. He's challenging you to not go to a place. He's challenging you to whatever it may be. There is grief when we let go of some things, and sometimes we grieve the things we enjoy, but we no longer need to participate in it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. As a therapist and someone who deals with grief and trauma, a lot of times the clients that I have don't understand the grief that they're going through, even though it may have been a toxic or bad relationship or situation. Sometimes they're grieving what's familiar, even if it's not good. So change is kind of hard for a lot of people, even like you said, whether it be health or age or attitudes or is what was. And transitioning and letting go can be very difficult for people.
I know it's difficult for me. It's difficult for me. It depends on what it is. Even thinking about the transition of your children leaving home, and that's what you knew and that's what you did. It's an excitement. Well, I'll speak for myself. It was an excitement, but it was also sadness to that transition. I was grieving that my daughter left home and went to move out on her own, but at the same time I was excited.
Yeah.
Another time she wanted to move back in. Then I was grieving because she wanted to come back. Because I was enjoying my time at home with her being out of the house. So, yeah.
So you've also spoken about the season of preparation. What are the signs someone is in a preparation season, and what should they stop doing immediately?
I can say this is stop doing immediately. Sometimes preparations feel like we are being rejected and abandoned when we're really being isolated to stretch and become more. Old relationships will disappear, or it will no longer benefit you as a person. And so you may feel like these people are rejecting me, or what's going on with my relationships. What's going on with my finances? What else I could say about a season of preparation? Why do I feel like cleaning out this house and changing things is to accept the new, right? So let's talk about Ruth and Naomi for 1 second. Are you familiar with Ruth, the story of Ruth?
I am, yes.
And so those who may not be familiar with the story of Ruth, please go to YouTube and listen to Ruth in the New Living Translation. They talk just like you and I. And in Ruth, we saw a young lady who lost her husband. And she went on a journey with her mother-in-law who lost her son. And they both went to a new area, and they were not familiar, right? And so in that process, a season of preparation, there can be grief of relationships. It's not rejection. I believe it's refinement. sometimes God is giving us that time of solitude to build for us to become something better than what we were, like helping us refine our character, refine who we are, because I do believe as individuals, we can continue to grow if we seek it, right? Um, what I would say immediately to stop doing is self-sabotaging, thinking negative, and yeah, those are the two things that I say safe. Stop thinking negative about the place that you're in, and uh and don't self-sabotage because you might be in your emotions for feeling some type of way.
I love that. I do. Um, you discuss spiritual frameworks like the New Covenant. How do you help viewers translate big theology into everyday decisions, boundaries, behaviors, relationships?
Like New Covenant, it's not just about doctrine, it's about access, right? God doesn't call us to perform, right? And so many times I like to just tell people, operate from a place of love, help people from a place of love. The most impactful people in my life, it wasn't about what they said, it was about what they did and how they treated me. It was through when I was acting out, when I was rejecting them, running from them, the people who continue to show love and pour into me and disciple me and correct me, and hold me accountable for things that I needed to do or to change, versus being nasty about it or very critical. You can tell me that my skirt is too tight, right? And I don't know you.
Your sound went out.
Hello? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I think I lost you for a minute. You can continue.
Oh man, I don't know where I was at. But I think it's all about love, basically. That's what I was saying. People don't really want to hear your doctrine when you are nasty and very critical. It's more your doctrine may be received by your actions versus your words.
That makes sense. This kind of goes in line with it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Mm-hmm. And then more of it ain't even about, sometimes it's not about what you say, it's about what you do, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so this one lady who helped change my life, she corrected me eventually, but she built a rapport with me first. Then she started working on me, telling me, "Oh, maybe you wear that. Maybe you shouldn't wear that piece of clothing because you're in the house of God and blah 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 blah." I was able to receive it from her love and her taking the time to get to know me versus somebody who just came up to me being nasty, talking about, "Oh, you need to wear this, you being hot in the pants," or being critical and judgmental, right? It was the person who took the time to get to know me. It was the person who showed me love when I wasn't lovable. That spoke louder than the doctrine.
Yeah. Yeah. When you host guests, what's your process for creating conversations that are revelatory but still practical for real life?
Asking Holy Spirit, listening to Holy Spirit, asking the Lord, what is it that He wants me to speak about? Does He want me to give a topic, or does He want me to ask the person that I'm asking to give the title? And then, say for instance, I have you on the show and the Holy Spirit say, I want her to speak about sanctification. I say, okay, all right, well, Lord, what is it that you want me to say if I'm asked a question or to share? And I allow Him to lead me in that way. And so someone might say, well, how do you hear God? Well, you can hear God from listening to the word, reading the word, the more time you spend with God, I believe you can notice and recognize God. I also teach people, you have to open up your eyes and ears to be willing to hear Holy Spirit. So when I first was introduced to this, I was told, ask Holy Spirit to show you and look for him in everything. Look in him from your everyday activity, from people talking to you, observing nature. I've always heard a lot of people say God doesn't speak all the time. He's not speaking all the time. I really disagree with that. I believe God is speaking all the time, but do we have our eyes and ears and heart open to see and receive and hear what he is saying? And so I ask God, that's what I do. I ask Holy Spirit, what is it that you want us to talk about? And whatever he gives me, that's what we talk about. That's how I come up with the topics. I seek Holy Spirit. I seek and knock and ask.
Thank you. So we've spoken about your faith and also about your podcast. So let's talk about your book, Healing in Transition. What inspired the book, and what do you hope our listeners will begin to heal or finally release as they move through the season of change and becoming? What was your motivation for the book?
Mm-hmm. Well, I had got a coach and I knew the Lord was talking to me about writing a book. I have started about 5 books, but never finished, or maybe only in one of them I completed a chapter. But this one, I was coming out of a place. I had left a church. Actually, I got put out of a church, and I was in a healing of restoration and change myself. And in that process, I was doing some writing, and with my coach, we discussed. She asked me a few questions. And I thought my book would have been about grief and transition because I know a lot about grief and transitions, right? But what I found out as I continued to write, I wrote about the pain and hurt that I dealt with when I was in a relationship. And as I continued to write, it appeared to be more about abuse and the mental abuse, the verbal abuse, how I was treated. And then I was second guessing myself. I was like, is this what I really supposed to be writing? I really believe it should be on grief and transition. But that is a part of grief and transitioning, running away from abuse, right? Getting away from abuse. So I was in a place of restoration, and the question she asked me, I thought I was healed from a place, and I discovered some of the questions she asked me, I was triggered. I haven't been with my daughter's father. My daughter is about to be 19 since she was like 1 year old. And there were things that I realized when it came to dating, when it came to me and my daughter's relationships and relationships with men, that I still had some deep down rooted hurt that needed to be dealt with. And as my identity was being shifted, because I came in from a place, we were talking about transition, I was in a place of isolation, something you discussed earlier, and solitude, and God was shifting me and my perspective on some things, and I had to confront my own patterns of grief and misplaced expectations that I have put on others. And then recently, one of my girlfriends, one of her best friend's sisters was murdered by her baby father. And then he killed himself. And to me, that confirmed that I was supposed to continue to write this book and share it with individuals to just give them some tools, how to get out, knowing that it's not safe, that you can possibly be killed if you try to leave your abuser. things that we think that are cute in the beginning. Oh, he doesn't want me to be around everyone else. He always wants me around him. Some of those things become toxic and unhealthy. And so it's really about awareness. I want people to be aware. And then I learned a young lady in my family was dating a young man, and he was abusing her. And I felt like, this would help other young ladies and young men know that there are different types of abuse, even when it comes to social media. The young lady had experienced the boy putting something online that she did with him, and it was a form of abuse and to keep her in the relationship. How horrible is that?
Wow.
Right. And through our talk and with counsel, she eventually left, and she had to deal with embarrassment and shame, but she left. And she didn't think she could get through it at the time, but she's out of it and she's in another space. And so once leaving a space you thought that you could never get out of and feeling trapped in, um, it's the greatest feeling in the world.
It is. It's got to be very freeing too, and safe.
Yes. After the embarrassment, after the guilt and shame, but at the end of the day, those are feelings that we may have, but we don't have to keep those feelings. We don't have to own those feelings. We don't have to stay there. Somebody else's behavior, does not mean that I look bad because they did something to me. If somebody thinks that or judges you because of that, there is something they need help, not you.
Absolutely. So with the different types of people that you work with, children, adults, domestic violence, what do you love about working with them? What is the hardest part in working with those populations?
Why I love working with the reentry population, people who get out of jail, people who have been in domestic violence relationships. Why do I have a passion for it? Because I was that person. When you talk about being in purpose, you never know what you have to go through in order to be in purpose. But everything that I've been through in life, I can help those that I can identify with. How can I explain that? I can identify some people because I went through that type of scenario. So I love seeing when people go to the next level emotionally and mentally, and they didn't never think they could get there, or even physically or naturally get in a place, an apartment, and they wanted to stay in the projects all their life, getting a home, and just I love seeing people go to their next level emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and naturally. The hardest part is assisting them with changing their mind. You can't make anybody change their mind. And the hardest part is getting people to do the work. Some steps are easy, but some steps are hard.
Absolutely. So, we talked about your book.
Mhm.
As we wrap up, can you tell us where we can receive services from you? Where can we get your book?
So I do have a website. It's called co-parentingconsulting.org. You can fill out a form there. You also can contact me whichever is easier on social media. Inbox me on Facebook, and I can send you the link. Moneecia Johnson, Moneecia Johnson, and the book is on Amazon. The name of the book is Healing in Transition: Where Pain Meets Purpose.
I love that title.
Thank you.
So, as we, get ready to close, I want to ask you one last thing, and it's What would you tell young people, people in domestic violence, people who are involved with the legal system? What would you tell them about change and purpose?
Domestic violence, change, and purpose. The first thing I'll say is that in order to heal, one must participate. Meaning, if I want to heal or change something, I have to participate in it. I mean, I have to do the work. Example, I say I want to be a homeowner, but my credit is bad. Well, the first thing I need to pull my credit report. I can't go out to eat every other day. There are some things that I would have to sacrifice in order to change and to become the change I want. Another example, I used to drink, and I haven't probably had drank about 13 years. At one moment, when it was hard for me to change. I didn't think I could possibly have a problem at all. But when it was time, I found myself on the floor crying because I wanted to have a drink, right? But in order for me to change that, when my friends asked me to go out to the bar with them, I couldn't go to the bar with them. I couldn't go over to their house if I knew it was going to be a whole bunch of liquor. I had to sacrifice my time in some of those relationships so I can experience the new, so I could stop the thing that I no longer wanted to do.
Thank you.
So in order to change, it takes participation, change of environment, change of relationships, and actually taking the work, but just do one thing at a time.
Agreed. You have to be very intentional and have to want to change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So, listeners, that was Moneecia Johnson, our guest speaker today. And as we close, we invite you to notice what stayed with you: the memory, the question, the truth that surfaced. Our ancestors live on in how we listen, how we care for one another, and how we choose to move forward together. If this interview resonated, share it with someone who holds your history. Leave a review so these stories reach those who need them. Until next time, stay rooted, stay connected, and keep dreaming forward. If you'd like to re-listen to this podcast, you can find us on justfreecenters.org, Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, and on our YouTube channel of the same name. Until next time, this is Rooted in Our Ancestors' Streams. Thank you.